Okay, video number 2. I'm sorry that was long. I'm going to try to go faster, but you know how that goes. Next, Baroque art in France. Perhaps not surprising, less intense, less extravagant, more interest in elegance and restraint to emotion, which maybe feeds into the stereotype of Italians and French people, but that I guess that's what we just see in this period anyways. We'll see more intensity, I guess, in France later, perhaps. But at this point, less. As part of this, there was an Academy of Fine Arts that was created in France that meant to hold true to the traditional values that French people had of art, and especially what they saw coming out of the Renaissance. Fear of people like Caravaggio going rogue and doing something a little bit too edgy, risque, different. So what we should be seeing here is holding to traditional values and standards. All right, let's check it. Yep, pretty dang traditional. This one, painting of Roman story, Germanicus, here on his deathbed, surrounded by his soldiers. Whoopsies, sorry. Soldiers, upset, family, grieving. And that's kind of a typical division that we'll see with French, and even when we get into British types of painting, this idea of like masculine toughness, urge for justice and revenge, and feminine love, weakness, uh, dedication and loyalty. So we'll see that. We'll see that division. That's what we're going to see. Uh, Again, preference for restraint. There's no crazy tenebrism. There's no weird stuff happening in here. People would not consider this offensive. We got typical Greco-Roman architecture. The garb is traditional. The story is old. So this is pretty safe. And side note, it's housed in Minneapolis. So that's pretty cool. When you go to college, you should check that out if you're up in the cities or anytime. Let's see. I don't know what else to discuss here because I'm trying to keep it pretty short, just to highlight the story a little bit, I guess. Germanicus was a Roman figure who was poisoned and faces the injustice of being poisoned unjustly, or not, like it shouldn't have happened, but he takes it like a man, even though his fellows are upset and his family is broken. He's stoic, or else he's just feeling the effects of the poison. Okay, I'm going to speed through this one. Another Poisson. This is a dance to the music of the time. Again, super safe, super basic in terms of like not reaching out for anything too new or different. Pretty traditional depiction and narrative. Now, this one I got to talk about a little bit. Lorraine is an important Baroque painter. This is pastoral landscape. Here you see the new development that we saw starting in the Northern Renaissance last unit. Focus on beauty of nature, simplicity, the decay of man's creation, but that nature endures. And this one, not so classical in terms of like structure, although lots of like leading the eye, but I love it because man is so small and insignificant here, and nature just overpowers for sure, and even starts to take back man's architecture, man's temporary nature compared with the actual world of nature, and how long lasting that is. Okay, next up, cruising, Spain. Spain stays allegiant to the Catholic Church, and art often shows that tie to Catholicism. So this art, less crazy theatrical emotionalism like Italy, less Romanesque, Greco-Roman style, traditional style, more about communicating to a wide audience, a special focus on religious piety, and keeping true to that Spanish Catholicism. They were really big into uh, the Counter-Reformation and some of those efforts the Catholic Church did, especially including the Inquisition and things like that. So we'll see that in some paintings. Now, this one's pretty safe. Las Meninas, Velázquez. This is the royal family being painted. He was the court painter of Philip IV. He's the greatest Spanish painter of the Baroque period. Here we see the maids of honor with, of course, the young princess front and center being attended to by her ladies, other maids, her favorite dwarf. Kids just love that one. Got the little pup in the picture too. And just some things we can see what's happening here. That's the focus for us. But really what's happening in this scene, here's Velázquez painting uh, within the painting. And so this is kind of a new take where we have real life happening and a hint at like the idea of this being um, just a capture of reality, I guess you could say, brimming with life. Not so much the intense lighting of Caravaggio, but cool use of lighting nonetheless, realistic. Dark room, and you can see there must be a window right here that's drawing in all this sunlight and putting the focus perfectly on little Margarita. Okay, that's a little sampling of Spain. Now how about the north? The north goes a different route. So the north, we're talking Northern Europe, that's Flanders, Dutch Republic, which is the modern Netherlands. Here, art is for the middle class. This is where we see the strongest break from the Catholic Church. Italy stays to the Catholic Church. France sticks pretty tight. Spain stays really close to the Catholic Church. But here in the middle part of Europe, that's where we see the biggest efforts of the Counter Reformation. Here's where we see Protestant alive and well. So let's take a look at some paintings. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Here's Peter Paul Rubens' The Lion Hunt. A little bit blurry here on your screen, but this is a great depiction of Baroque, and maybe even surprising that this is a Northern European painting, but Peter Paul Rubens enjoys capturing this sort of intensity. Let's look here. We got lions going crazy. We got men, one man on a horse, another one over here. They are having a heck of a time slamming these lions. Lions biting the man. Here's a guy's head. Here's another one with a sword in a lion's mouth. Like, this is some intensity for sure. Let's talk about how the Renaissance painters might view this. Well, they'd probably think that the capturing realism is pretty good. Like, I think they would enjoy the musculature of this guy over here. Michelangelo probably be way into that. Like the swirling clouds. The realism is good. Mannerists especially would probably be all about this. But I'm thinking someone like Da Vinci might say, it's a little messy and a little out of control here. And I don't even know if this subject is worth capturing on painting, but I don't want to put words in Da Vinci's mouth. But definitely, I'm thinking they would appreciate the intensity because it's new and fresh, but it's just very different from what Da Vinci was up to. I think this is a great example of Baroque art because it's intense. The lighting is pretty brilliant. Like, here we have this dark edging on the side and then this really impressive white figure in the middle with all this drapery. I think they'd be into it. Pretty strong use of chaos. Something different. This is another example of the kind of stuff happening in the North. A lot of portraits. Middle class, wealthy, people who are starting to make it big, getting their paintings done. This is a big shift, not a religious kind of image, but just showing a person for their accomplishments or their notoriety, whatever. So here you have a sample of that. Now, this is what I think of when I think of Northern European art. Lovely. Got the family on Christmas morn, right? Mom or grandma, I don't know, older lady, all the kids gathered with their toys, food's kind of messy, table's messy, all the family gathered around. This kid looks not so great over here. This one's got his mouth open, big mouth breather, or maybe he's yawning. But this is normal life, right? This is simplicity, secular, even though a religious holiday, but this is like just family life. And that is a good example of what you see in Northern Renaissance, or oh my gosh, Northern Baroque art. Okay, also popular at this time, something different. This time, seascape. We saw with Lorraine in France landscape, but now we start to see seascape, especially for artists who live near the water. And this is a Dutch painter, Vermeer, capturing the stillness of town. The people just love capturing water, stillness of water, and the reflection of the objects in the water. Really cool when you think about the innovation that has to take place to capture water. Also interest in light and how that plays with water. And so we'll start to see that a little bit more. And again, even though man is pretty tiny and his buildings are much more prominent, kind of this interplay of man and nature. More Northern European Baroque art. Young woman with a water jug. Pretty simple, nothing religious. Rejection of Catholicism's focus on religious art. So nothing to do with religion here, just art depicting a normal day. But some cool stuff. Look at this glass. That takes some talent. You can see her finger through it. We're clearly starting to mess around with glass, like I mentioned, water, the idea of translucence. So some new developments that are kind of important. Rembrandt, master of the Baroque period, a Dutch painter. Here's where we get into the psychology that I mentioned before. Rembrandt painted a ton of self-portraits, and every day, I think he painted these about every day for himself. So this is him. And you can just feel emotion coming from the portraits that he made, and they get a little bit rougher over time. I think his wife died, and so like you see his face just get more and more weighed down by the emotion that he feels. A big part of that, the tool that he uses to capture that emotion is light and line. So you can see, because of the light and the darkness and the line that he has up here in those eyebrows, this guy he makes you feel when you look at this painting for sure. And so here you see, again, Baroque art moving away from religious purposes and into psychological exploration. But wait, Rembrandt's not just about psychological exploration, he's about scientific exploration too. So here we see art with a new purpose, and that is capturing scientific exploration. Now, this one is a little bit different. Here we're not seeing an actual study artist as a scientist, but you see artists depicting science at least. We got a teacher with all of the students around, all the kiddies around, and here's a terrible looking cadaver being explored. And so this is sort of what Bacon was talking about. If you want to know the truth, don't rely on your mind or, your cave of a mind. Don't rely on the tribe. Don't rely on society and words. Get in there. Get your hands dirty. Dig around and figure stuff out. So here you see Rembrandt capturing this anatomy lesson. And that, my friends, is where we're going to stop. I hope this wasn't too long for you. Have a good day.